So I got a message the other day from one of my followers on Instagram, and they asked me what I typically do for a warm-up. Now, instead of sharing what I always do for my warm-up, I wanted to share with you a general warm-up that you can use for pretty much any sort of training session. Of course, you're going to want to adjust things if you are doing, I don't know, heavy back squats versus if you're about to run sprints, but the whole idea is you can use this for whatever you're focused on, so let's get into it.
Yeah.
360 breathing is a fantastic way to get everything in working order. Make sure your lower back is pressing into the ground. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your diaphragm. Focus on breathing deep and filling up the belly. Take your time. Make sure your mouth is closed and you're breathing in and out through your nose. This is an arm bar variation that I'm demonstrating using a kettlebell, but you can use a dumbbell for. You'll press through your arm, making sure your lower back is in contact with the ground, and then bend the opposite knee. Again, breathe deep into your belly the entire time, focusing on keeping the opposite leg straight. As you practice, you'll be able to straighten out the leg. This is just another variation. It's more important that you're focused on keeping that lower back in contact with the ground. T-spine rotations are a wonderful addition to any warm-up and training program. Start with your butt seated on your heels. I'm in the seiza position. Make sure that the hand is on the base of the skull and begin your rotations. We want to make sure that the rotation is coming from the T-spine. We're not borrowing movement from our lower back, and that's why we're in this particular seated position. Rocking is a wonderful way to get our vestibular system online and also to check in and see how our hips are doing. We're mobilizing the feet, the ankles, the hips, the glutes, the shoulders, and our wrists. So take your time with this and make sure as you practice, you only go as far as you can while keeping your arms completely straight. This is a favorite variation of mine of the world's greatest stretch, starting off with the bodyweight squat. You'll walk yourself out into this staggered lunge position. You want to make sure that you're focused on stacking the joints and that the shoulders are stacked as we rotate. You can imagine the rotation coming from your chest. So imagine if you had the Iron Man emblem in the middle of your chest. So as you walk your way out, you want to make sure that the Iron Man symbol can touch the opposite wall. Take your time with this and make sure that you are really extending through that back leg and that you are again stacking the joints. Walk yourself back, end up in your squat. Take your time. Okay, this final part of my warm-up is locomotion. Now, you can do whatever you'd like here. I'm really just taking the time to check in, make sure if there's any areas in my body that need more support. Now, for my one-on-one clients, when we're coaching together, we really focus on breaking down a lot of these moves. In particular, I'm moving through something we call the Frogger and Monkey. Here I'm doing something called the leopard crawl. Again, it's just another crawl variation. There's no right or wrong way to go about it. Now, what I'm about to explore is something called the bear. In this position, we're really focused on pushing the hips up as high as we can, pushing through those shoulders, and eventually working to have the heels down. Now, if we're doing something like squatting or something like deadlifts, I really spend a lot of time doing this before starting. One of the reasons why is I like to get all the nooks and crannies before I get going. This is called the twisting bear, and again, it's a wonderful way to really work on that ankle mobility, hip mobility, hamstrings, upper back, T-spine mobility, shoulder mobility, lat mobility. Like, there's a lot of amazing things that can go on here. I also find myself putting movements like this in between strength movements. Now, most important of all, once you're done, get ready, go, and have some fun.